Dani has been traveling all week, and so I'm really grateful that she's here. She's a leadership and executive coach. She is the lead person on Jane Unchained, which is, you've probably all heard of on Facebook. And you can describe that better, but I always see her in clips promoting different activism events, and she's just a really active community member. So I'm so glad that she's here to talk about the campaign to ban fur, and that other members of the campaign are also with her.
All right. Thank you, Jacqueline. I knew I would do that. First thing I'd do is walk right in front of it. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. And how many people here know about the FurFreePdx, banning fur in Portland? Let me just see. Okay, good. Some of you do, and some of you don't. So the exciting thing is that fur has tried to make a resurgence recently. It used to be, shameful to wear fur back in the kind of 80s and 90s, and it's kind of been making a comeback. So there's been a backlash to that, and more organizations and people around the world are really fighting hard to get fur banned all over the world. So why not Portland? I mean, that's the bottom line is, we're a progressive city. So Compassionate PDX, we're a grassroots group of dedicated Portland residents, volunteers, to be in support of legislation that's in support of advocating for animals. And right now, our campaign is banning fur. And when we get fur banned, then we can move on to other legislation, that for animals. So that's its main function. And a little bit of a history. Amber Canavan is here. Actually, all the other Compassionate PDX organizers, co-organizers are here, and I'll introduce you in a little bit. But Amber Canavan is the main founder of Compassionate PDX. Well, yeah, of Compassionate PDX. And we all started getting together back in late fall, early winter last year to start this campaign, and it pretty much launched around January 1st. So in the beginning of January, we started doing various things where, well, the first thing we did was contact city commissioners and the mayor's office. And we've met with 3 out of the 4 commissioners and with the mayor's office. And we've actually met several times with a lot of them, and we're making great headway. So it started out doing that, and then we also developed public, events so that more and more people would know about it, and I'll go into that a little bit in a minute. And then we also started developing a street team so that we would get signatures. So let me show you a little bit. So this is our website. And we've got a petition, and it's all paper petition. It's not online. So every single one of these signatures we verify, and they're Portland residents. So we've got, what is it, about almost 3,000 now? Okay,
a little over 3,000.
A little over 3?
Over 3.
Yay, okay, and I have about 6 more here. And then whoever else is a Portland resident, we want you to sign. In fact, I'll just show you the petition really fast in case I forget. But this is what it looks like, and then you can sign it. So we have over 3,000 petitions, and when we meet with the commissioners, they're very impressed with the footwork that we've been doing. So it's taken a lot of work to get those 3,000, but the bottom line is when we're out there, the majority of people, when they hear about it, want fur to be banned. They either respond, I can't believe it's still around, and so definitely people want this cruelty, this barbaric cruelty to end. We also started to get businesses to endorse the fur ban, local businesses. So these are just some of the logos of just some of the businesses who have signed on to say, yes, I support the fur ban. Isn't this incredible? So you can go to our website and support their businesses because they rock. We also have various local, national, and international organizations who are in our coalition. And we've been meeting with our coalition members. They're helping us with a lot of the logistics. I'll go into a little bit about some of that in a minute, but basically ADI has been helping us, Animal Defenders International, and IDA and Defense of Animals. We've been getting a lot of legal support, and now also the Humane, the Humane Society?
HSUS.
HSUS, thank you. And I'll say a little bit about VFAR, Voters for Animal Rights, in a few minutes. But so we have coalition members as well as businesses that say, yes, we support it. So, hold on. Okay, so this is the gang, and every time we go to City Hall and have a great meeting with one of the city officials, we take a picture, and you can see every one of these pictures we're all happy, because it's just an incredible experience to most of us. I mean, Amber excluded probably. It's really been a learning curve, and we've been learning and getting support from so many people on how to be a voice for the animals through like legislation. So going to City Hall has been a great experience, and this is the core group here, and they're all here. But that's Priya Masterson, that's Catalina Cabrera, there's Amber Canavan, Matthew Cooper, and then me. And let's see, what else did I want to tell you guys? So what we've done is we then went through, let's see. Oh yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about other places. But well, yeah, let's talk about FurBan and other places. One of the things that inspired us is California. California is doing amazing things. So I think in 2013, West Hollywood banned fur. They're really proactive. They've also done other animal-friendly things. They're not messing around, and they're very fashion-focused. Then Berkeley banned fur just a couple of years ago. Then San Francisco banned fur. I think it was about a $50 million business in San Francisco. In Portland, it's very little. There's very little of our local economy has fur. We'll talk about that. And then Los Angeles, the activists, part of the Compassionate Cities campaign, got LA to ban fur. And that's huge, because LA is a big fashion, capital. I used to live there. And when you go there, even though it's hot out, you think fur. But I'm not kidding. It's sold everywhere. Well, it was. And you'd see, you'll see women in these teeny weeny shorts and these little tank tops, but then they'll have like their little boots with fur trim and a little teeny jacket, stylish jacket with little fur trim and open, even though it's hot out, right? And so it needed to go, and it's unbelievable that it went. And for those of how many people know that fur is very likely about to be banned in the state of California? It's incredible, right? So the activists there in California have been unbelievable. And the fur industry often tries to sabotage their efforts. But their efforts usually are very inauthentic, and they try to fund, and we'll talk about the New York City fur ban that's in the process of happening. Basically, the big story is, will New York City be first, or will Portland be the next city to ban fur? And we hope it's both. So whoever wins, great. But so the fur industry tries to sabotage it, and with California right now, I think they hired like some young people to go and say they're against the ban, and it didn't work because it's so many real people for the ban show up, and that's the power. That's what I think that's the most important thing here, is the power of the people with this. It's so important that we get involved, and it's amazing how when you do even just a little bit goes a long way with activism. You don't have to be full on if you just want to help, with anything that is animal friendly. It's amazing how little things help. So if you don't think that you're like a lobbyist or anything like that, you don't have to have that skill set. We need everybody to help out in any way. We have lots of ways that you can help, and anybody who might want to help. So it passed a lot of things in California. It already even passed the Senate, and so it's passed in California. All it needs to happen is that Governor Gavin Newsom has to sign it, and I love the guy. So I think I have every belief that he will. So if things go as I think they will, California is about to ban the sale of fur. It's huge, and that certainly will help our endeavor here in Portland. They won't be able to deny it. So that's what's happening there. And then also a lot of fur farms in Europe are getting banned, which is unbelievable. Serbia, Norway, UK, Germany, who else am I? Bosnia, I think. Austria. I mean, it's incredible. So it's really exciting. And if most people don't know, about 85% of the fur comes from factory farms. We need to get rid of them. They're sickening. More good news is that these luxury fashion designers, they're going down one after the other. Chanel in January announced their ban. Prada just recently, Gucci, Versace, Michael Kors, Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, just so many of them. A while ago, Burberry. I mean, just so many. It's a no-brainer. And I know activists have been working in New York on Dolce & Gabbana, and they're going to go down because these activists are really, there's just so many ways that you can be a voice for the animals. And, you know, whether it's street activism or through, you know, city government or state government or whatever, just there's so many different ways. We need to get it from all angles. Okay, so let's go over to a little bit about the Portland fur ban. Oh, wait, hold on, it's right here. Okay, so what will the fur ban do? So it would basically prohibit the sale and the manufacture of fur, real fur, here in Portland. There's very little fur in Portland, but these businesses, the fur industry, if we don't do something now, they're just going to keep, you know, getting bigger and bigger unless somebody stops them. So there's very little fur, but it does exist, and this would mean that you could not sell fur here in Portland. And that's incredible. It wouldn't include vintage fur, you know, secondhand stores, and it wouldn't include fur that's been trapped. Because there's an Oregon, I think, the Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, there's a preemption in state law that just, if they wanted to sell fur from an animal that was trapped from a licensed trapper in the state of Oregon, but we found zero retailers selling that kind of fur here, so
yeah, it's pretty exciting. And then of course we're working in it's been a very inclusive process, and the Portland city government is definitely very clear that all stakeholders involved need to be included in the process. So that means the Native American community, because of some of their practices and traditions and rituals. So PREA has been working really hard on that. We have it in the ordinance where there's very specific exemptions for the Native American community. And she could tell you a little bit about that. And also I want her to come up in a little bit about the environmental aspects of fur, because it's also relevant to the movie, the 16-minute doc we're going to see, The Farm in My Backyard. And so there's a lot of just like little bit of fur. You know, it's a sporting community, so there's some Canada goose here, and then there's just like adornment fur, you know, a little bit on vests, trinkets, things like that. We want it gone. It's a vanity piece. It's a status symbol. It's not a necessity. We do not need fur, and so let's get rid of it. So, yeah, Portland. It's obvious. We're a progressive city for ethics, for the environment. It's a social justice issue. You know, we're against we're against racism and sexism and all the other isms. Well, the same goes for, we need to be including animals. Those of us who understand that, we are their voice, where we can start including, you know, animals in the issue of expanding our circle of compassion, justice, and equality in all the ways that matter. It won't hurt local business. There's very little of it. There's no place here that relies solely or even mostly on fur. No taxes here. People can still wear it if they want. If they buy it in, you know, Toledo and they come here and wear it, well, then they can. And then it can't be done. I mean, this is the beauty of this, is that, you know, they said it can't be done. And look what's happening. It's really happening. So that's very exciting. Right. Okay. Hey, Kat, do you want to come up for a minute and just talk a little bit about the street ban, the street team, and the petition? Sure. And here's the petition if you want to show it. Oh, actually, this is the street team. You can come over here where the projector isn't.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys are interested in helping out, you can join our street team. So we have right here you can put your email in and check if you're interested in helping us out with the ban. So you can sign right here if you're interested, but we have these petition locations that you can tell people to go to.
Don't we also
Food
have
fights.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the food fights, Back to Eden, Oracle, No Bones Beach Club, the Parlor St. John's Hair Salon, and then Rabbit's Cafe also we've added. So yeah, I don't know what exactly.
Yeah, that's it. And then if people want to join, get on our newsletter, our mailing list, and just be emailed, or if you want to volunteer your efforts, we're going to tell you later what you can do, but this will be the sign-up sheet right here.
Yeah, it'll probably mostly heat up closer to the time when we're bringing it to council and need people to come out on a Wednesday morning, essentially, and come support and just come to some events leading up to it, maybe. But yeah, we're pretty much good on signatures, but yeah.
I'm curious. Is Milwaukee considered Portland?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
It has to be, Portland. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we can give you guys sheets if you're interested in collecting signatures from friends, family, work, colleagues.
So these are just a few of the over 50 businesses that have endorsed. Actually, yeah, that's Justin. Who recognized Justin from Cultured Kindness? Yeah, Cultured Kindness Cheeses. I just saw him yesterday at the farmers market in St. John's. And there's Oracle, and there's Mackenzie DeVito of No Bones Beach Club. People have been amazing businesses. And these are just some of our events, people signing, and this was at one of our events, and a lot of people, it's so exciting. Does anybody, this is at Achiza, where, does anybody recognize who that is? Well, I can't think of her name, but she's, huh?
That's not Gloria Steinem, is it?
No. She was having lunch and reading a book, and she was all I had to say is, do you want to sign our fur bet? And then she was just like, yes. ZK Post, I think, is her pseudonym. But anyway, she's a really well-known, I think, youth science fiction writer. And she was just lovely. Just her willingness and eagerness. Also, this was at the NARD, the National Animal Rights Day. We had volunteers work the booth there. We've done a lot of different events. I can't remember offhand, but I will later, or Amber will remind me. That's at People's Market there. These are more people. This was at Pride. More people supporting it. I love, it's so great when you see them with little furry animals. It just drives the point home. And that was at the farmers market at People's, and then just more, just to show you guys what's going on. Street team getting out there and getting signatures. Let's have. Where was this, you guys? Priya and. That was at the Turn Your Passion into Action?
Yeah.
The forum?
Yep.
Okay, let me see. I might have you come up in a second. Oh yeah, their street team. Okay, so we're gonna do the video in a second. Let me just see what's after that. Okay. Let me just talk a little bit about events. So one of the things that we're known as Compassionate PDX, because that's the full umbrella, but FurFreePdx is the current campaign. So we use them interchangeably, but Compassionate PDX, we have a monthly forum where every month we do a different topic and various things, and we want people to come. Let's see, our first one was Matthew presenting. That was our kickoff at the bank room in the library, and we did he did an overview of what the fur ban was to get people involved. It was incredible. And that was our kickoff. Then our second one was VFAR, which was Voters for Animal Rights. They're in New York. They did a lobbying 101, and they Skyped in from New York to do a Q&A, which was very, very helpful. Help us learn the basics of lobbying, and also they are part of the New York City fur ban and the foie gras ban that they're working on in New York, which Amber has been a major part of as well. And then what was the other one? Oh, then in June we had the screening of this film with Joanne MacArthur, the filmmaker. The WeAnimals, I think, was the producer of it. That was great. And then in July we had Steve Wise of the Non-Human Rights Project come and talk a case for animal rights. And then in August, I wasn't here. We did the Turn Your Passion into Action. And we're going to talk about what's coming up next after the film. And Priya, why don't you come up and talk a little bit about, the environmental, anything you want about, and also maybe anything you feel, fill in the blanks.
Let's see. Well, something surprising about fur is just how environmentally damaging it is. People think that because it's natural that it doesn't, cause harm, but in the processing of it, there's a lot of chemicals that are used to make it so you can wear, and it lasts a long time. We've partnered with organizations already. Surfrider, which is like a nonprofit that deals with like ocean and waterways, and we've shown helped show a film there and talk about the environmental impacts of fur.
The eco, you were on that panel there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the Eco Film Fest that's coming up, which we'll talk more about, but, and then also Amy Rathfelder.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So, upcoming in terms of like learning more about environmental impacts, there's the Eco Film Fest that's happening at I believe it's the weekend of the 28th, and we're going to be tabling there for one of the films. And then in terms of our connection with City Hall, we've been connected with the environmental liaison for the mayor's office. And that kind of shows just how this is a real issue in terms of the environment. And you're going to see in this film just how impactful it is in terms of health, and then it's just surprising how many chemicals are used. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I think what we'll do now is we're going to show you a video. Catalina put this together. We had done a street team action outside of Nordstrom with footage of trapping coyotes, and I had done the footage of it for Jane and Shane, and then this is what Catalina put together. Is there volume? How do I?
You can just hit play.
Just hit play? Okay, because it gives me a sign, but.
Fur? That's ridiculous, man. I hate that. And how we abuse animals. I'll do anything I can do to help. You guys are making difference.
Yeah, we're collecting signatures to deliver to Portland City Hall to get them to consider passing a ban on the sale of new fur products in Portland, like West Hollywood, Berkeley, Los Angeles, and San Francisco have done.
I think it's horrible that they're killing coyotes and then selling them for a jacket that costs $1,000.
It makes no sense that another being should suffer for what's really nowadays just fashion.
With animals, with people, I celebrate life, and everybody has the right to live, and killing is not the answer.
So now I think we're ready to go into, okay, so let's go right to the screening. I'll give you just a quick primer, but we'll go right into it. It's 16 minutes, and this is The Farm in My Backyard, produced by WeAnimals, and it's really great, so enjoy. 16 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll talk about upcoming events and what you can do to get involved.
I'm Julia Bancroft. I moved here approximately 5 years ago. My husband and I came here with the hopes of retirement. Came here to find a piece of paradise because we thought we had found it.
Hey, my name's Randy Cleveland. I'm a geologist. We have about 33 acres here and about 1,000 feet of lake frontage. Our kids and my wife spent most of the summers in the lake. We just loved it down there.
When we started looking at properties in this area, we became aware that there were certain lakes that were just not viable.
Around 2003, we began noticing some particles in the water, and we weren't sure at that point what it was.
Very disillusioned to find out what was really going on in the background. There have been mink farmers here for probably 50 years or more, but because they didn't farm in the best practices possible, they let pollution take over and the lakes turn green.
See it yet, but yes, we will. It's coming up right here. That's where we want. You stop her here, and we'll step up. Jim, that is sweet-smelling stuff, isn't it?
So you can really smell a horrible stench here.
I'm going to zoom in on her, or pan around a bit, play the game with the camera. Right here in Yarmouth County, the municipal bylaws say you can't have a mink pen within 500 feet of a body of water. Just look. That's what they do anyway.
And I don't know if you can see this on the film, but this is kind of basically a thick cesspool that really smells.
They have those constantly baited. That's a live trap during summer, and they use a dead trap during winter.
That's a mink trap. Don't touch it with your hands, Johnny. Hold on, wait, hold that out and let me get a close-up picture of it. So,
Get a picture of the smell.
do you want to drink it?
Ooh. Part of what they're pumping into the mink that ends up getting pumped into the water. They add phosphorus to the feed to make them have more appetite. I guess it's good for the pelts in the industry. And the result is the green slime in the water. I don't know what to tell you, but that's not good stuff.
So, that's coming draining right from that mink farm that's right up there, huh?
Everywhere in this hollow gets trapped by the road. Creates a kind of a dam, and that's a public culvert acting as a public sewer for a private industry. Lovely stuff.
Well, I think I'm going to back up a little bit first. When I
Sure.
said that the farming was here for 40 or 50 years, it has been, but it's been small farms. You know, they might have 1,000 mink or 500 mink or something to supplement their income. Now we have farms with over 250,000 mink. All of those mink poop, where is that going? There is no way that amount of manure can be managed.
My wife started calling the local Department of Environment office here in Yarmouth, and after putting us off and saying it was climate change and all sorts of things, they came out and had a look around and eventually told us that it was blue-green algae in the water.
The headwaters of virtually any place in Canada are the cleanest water that there is. And as the water goes down the streams and lakes, and it picks up pollutants from industry, from farms, golf courses, all those kinds of things. In our particular case, all the pollution starts at the headwaters. That's where there's 47 farms or something located, using very poor farm practice, manure running into the lakes and streams, and of course, as it comes down, it dilutes. So although I'm the last lake here on Lake Vaughan, Ours is the most diluted, and ours is probably the healthiest lake in the chain. But it doesn't mean it's okay.
Blue-green algae produces toxins. The most common toxins that they produce are microcystins.
Microcystin is the name of the toxin it gives off, which kills.
Those microcystins attack the kidneys and liver mostly.
Small amounts apparently when children get their mouth in it when they're drinking, when they're swimming, and quite a few cases of dogs being out playing with the family sort of the thing. And they lap up a bunch of water and die.
This pollution that's been going on for decades has been devastating. And people who bought properties there, intending to enjoy them for generations and pass them on to their kids, they're now useless to them. They can't sell them, they can't enjoy them. It's the water is basically, at certain times of the year, poisonous. At the same time, our government is using our tax dollars to open more mink farms.
Seatbelts on back here.
This is where it just becomes almost absurd, because you have a government that is with various different arms of government. They're promoting the industry, they're funding the industry, they are creating the regulations for the industry, they are doing all the monitoring, and if there's anything that needs to be penalized, if there's the punitive measures, they're all coming from the same place. The conflict of interest is incredible.
That lake I was telling you about that had the high E. coli count of 2,700, it took them 14 days to come and check that out, and we sent them videos of manure running down the bank. 14 days.
I began doing some research, and it was suggested by everyone that the best way to attack this problem would be to get significant regulations in place from the municipal level and from the provincial level, because the industry at the time was completely unregulated. The Department of Agriculture basically was trying to get the industry to abide by best farming practices, but everything was purely voluntary. There's no reason for anyone to actually follow any of these practices, and clearly from what I found in the field there were a lot who weren't.
Just let me give you an example. In the regulations it says, I'm just sort of paraphrasing here, but it says that all manure, all waste, carcasses, all of those things must be transported to an official, government certified location and disposed of. That sounds good. We were really excited when we read that. And then it says, or you can compost on site. Well, that's exactly what they're doing now.
The mink farmers are not providing anything for Nova Scotians. They cite the benefits of, they use a lot of fish waste that would normally just be of no use to anything. They say that that's a real economic boon. There's jobs. As far as I understand, the jobs are seasonal and pretty disgusting. So I'm not sure, how many of these jobs would be considered either high quality or full-time. And when you balance that against the environmental damage, and I'm not even going anywhere near what it does to the animals. Like that's a whole other sphere of horror. I think there is no acceptable way to farm fur-bearing animals. It made so much sense when we would have frozen to death on an ice floe if we didn't have fur clothing. That's great. Right now, there's options. The idea of investing in this industry based on a fashion whim, which is basically what it is. And all over the world, governments, people are saying, we don't want this anymore, and they're being shut down. And here in little old Nova Scotia, what are we doing? We're saying, big money maker, let's go with this.
I don't know. I just think they're taking money over our health. And I don't know, I didn't think there was a bigger issue than people's health and well-being. We're very pleased to be here, but we can't swim in our lake. That was a big reason to come, so our grandchildren could come visit and swim in the lake. And now that's over.
Well, I haven't swam in the lake here since, now it's 8 years. That's a long time.
I was expecting a response from my fellow Nova Scotians, and the only response I got was from people who are themselves injured, people who live like Julie along the water, and who are being personally, right in your face, kind of damaged by it. It's that old NIMBY thing, not in my backyard. It makes you cry. Because I know if we'd have had a political reaction that was serious, we'd have had changes. People didn't pick up on it and say, this is our water. It's all our water.
So do people, can you imagine if that was required in all like high schools? You know, that and all the other things that we know about. People have any questions or thoughts? It would just be so great if everybody in Portland saw that. We'd have a fur band like that. Yeah.
I don't know that much about fur band laws. Can you talk about what counts as fur? Why do you think that people are willing to ban? I assume it's like sort of focused on like mink and things like that, but not whatever you call it, like sheepskin, like furs, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And leather and.
Yeah. Well, Amber, you could also address this, but in regards to your second question, I think fur is the obvious thing to go toward because it's luxury and status, you know, and it's so less ubiquitous, and I think that's the first thing to go for because I mean leather, just like you know Levi's patch, although Peter's going after Levi's for that. I mean, it's just like it's on everything. So let's start where it's just obviously anybody who sees this, well, if they saw how the other stuff was made too. So that's the second part, and then what was how do you know the difference? Like chinchilla, raccoon dog, mink.
Well, I just was wondering like what's included, like what if Portland bans for what's not allowed and what's still allowed.
Right, Amber could probably distinguish this, but it doesn't include wool or sheepskin, or it probably doesn't include mohair either, right? Yeah, it does not.
Skin with the hair attached, with exemptions. For instance, if it was cowhide with the fur attached, that wouldn't be covered under the ban.
Yeah, skin, their actual skin, you can tell real fur, their actual skin is still there. So with fur, not hair, not shearling wool, but fur.
And it says apparel, but it also includes things like purses,
trinkets.
For a while, there's a couple companies that were making fur-lined slippers a thing for a while.
Mink, people are doing mink eyelashes. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is.
And would that be banned as well?
Yes.
Even though it's just the hair?
I don't think that would be included.
Okay. There's your, I think it would, but luckily not many people in Portland walk around in mink eyelashes.
You would be surprised.
Yeah. I don't go with that crowd. Any other thoughts or feelings or questions? I mean, it's just like, it's horrible. It's gotta go.
It's pretty easy to be on the street team if anybody's interested. If you go to farmer's market or whatever, it's so easy just to bring one of the sheets and people are more than willing to sign, really.
And yeah, some of the benefits that have been from this is that we've had a lot of ups and downs in terms of our process of like responsiveness from the city, city officials. And it's not necessarily high priority because of all the other pressing issues, with human population. But the beauty is we're actually on an upswing right now, which we can talk about. But the most important thing, I think, has been to have the conversation, to get out there and have the conversation, to have these kinds of events, for people to just really, learn about it. Like even just to think about, oh, I hadn't really thought of that, or of course I'm against it. Just for people to talk about. And the most important thing I've noticed that has helped us is, relationship building, networking. None of us had any kind of relationship with any of the city commissioners. We still haven't met directly with any of the city commissioners, but I think they're probably all aware of it. And we've been meeting with their policy directors and advisors and with the mayor's office. And so the current status right now, I would say we've just submitted a model of the legislation to some of the key people in the city, and they're now they've submitted it to their legal team. So that's a very good sign. And we've done a lot of fine tuning with our coalition lawyers, back and forth, and including the tribal liaison. The city has a tribal liaison. And any other questions or thoughts? Yeah.
I have a couple questions. The first one is, the film, is that just publicly available on the WeAnimals
Yes,
page?
you can get it on WeAnimals, yeah.
And then my second question is, can you speak more to the tribal exemptions and how that works?
Yeah, Priya, do you want to come up?
Let's see, yeah.
It's very interesting, so that's, yeah.
Let's see. Well, we've actually met with, Dana was talking about the tribal liaison, and we learned about, typically in Portland, every year there's a powwow, or twice a year, and people come not only from Oregon, but also from Alaska, and so,
In South America, is that?
well,
There's a little, another thing?
yeah, the tribal liaison is also concerned about, like, if people even come up from South America and are wanting to do, like, traditional dances and have fur, and so we need to be really inclusive and allow them to have their practices. And so it's been a real interesting, like, talking with the tribal liaison and learning about, like, language and how, you know, it's very nuanced in terms of, like, what's the correct language to be inclusive but not be so wide open where it could allow, I guess, abuse of the exemption. So we've not only talked to the tribal liaison, but we've also reached out to the community, the American Indian community, to ask, like, hey, is, like, this exemption appropriate? But it's also looking at, like, other exemptions and language used, and the tribal liaison gave us, like, documents to look over, and really going back through recent time about, like, in Oregon, like, how has language affected the community? So we're doing our best. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Yes.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, so you were speaking to events and people wearing fur, but this ban wouldn't address like anybody wearing fur, right?
Right.
So the exemption is targeted toward, like, the selling of fur at those events?
Yeah, selling, like, if you're a vendor at one of those events, the powwow, where that happens, you're still allowed if you're selling to American Indian for cultural, tribal purposes.
And is the exemption tied to the event or the person? So if there's somebody who's a member of a tribe and they sell unattached to an event, or so, like, where does that exemption attach to?
Let's see. Amber,
It's attached to the person. And she made it clear as well that it's not necessarily the people at these powwows selling to the community who are necessarily natives themselves, and she wanted to make it very clear that it's the cultural object is being used. It's attached to the use of that object by a native person, because if, for instance, we were going to ban a white person from selling a cultural object to a native person, that ban would unintentionally, in effect, be, what word did she use?
Like
hindering their access to those sacred items. So we took it was a couple weeks of tweaking the language with, we had a couple of attorneys from IDA, ADI, and HSUS, finding that balance between it being an exemption that is inclusive, but also is not a wide open loophole that could be exploited.
Thanks.
Yeah, and she meaning Laura John is the tribal liaison. Good question, because that's been
And
the
the
most.
draft of the legislation is up on our website at one of the tabs.
Yeah, if you want to see it, it's up there. Any other questions? So, upcoming events, this is really exciting. On September 28th, Amber's going to be speaking, and Compassionate PDX is co-hosting the Summit on Advancing Animal Protection Through Local Ordinances. So I think it's already sold out. It's going to be at Jupiter Hotel. I'm going to tell you all about what you can't go to. I can't either. I'm not going to be in town. But and Homegrown Smoker is catering it for free, and I think it's a free event, right, Amber? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it's just such a great experience. I'm hoping that they can live stream some of it and they're finding out. But
we're gonna try to record parts of it.
Yeah.
And I know a couple people who did get in just by emailing and checking in because they might have some no-shows. So if you really want to go, they might be able to squeeze you in. But it's sold out at 80 people, and it's really exciting because there's going to be people coming from all over the state, and they're either going to be looking to possibly try to pass for sale bans in their cities with the eventual goal of this possibly going statewide, just like California did. But I think we're a long way from there. We're probably closer than we think.
yeah, domino effect.
Feels a
That's-
long way away.
Also, I wanted to say that other cities that are working on a fur ban, New York City, I think it's going to get revisited in the fall. There's been a lot of back and forth, but they've been well on their way, and there's been a lot of pushback, but they're still moving forward. Toronto now has a fur ban team. Montreal, Denver is soon to start on it. There's been some recent developments. Minneapolis has a fur-free Minneapolis, and another thing we've done is for our learning, we've looped people in like Matt Roselle. You might remember Matt. He used to live in Portland, and he did undercover investigation at the Primate Center, as well as I think it was mink fur farms here in Portland. So we got some, we did some video conferencing with him, and also Judy Mancuso, we did some conferencing with her. She's the head of Compassion in Legislation. You should follow that site on Facebook because it's so incredibly powerful what they're doing. So we've got a lot of support from them. And then, so coming up at the Eco Festival, I think, is it Catalina and Amber? You guys are going to have a table and maybe even get to do a little promo there?
We're going to be at one of the screenings.
One of the screenings.
Catalina, do you recall the Queen
Without Land.
Queen Without Land on
Caught a Polar Bear.
Yeah.
On the 29th.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Tickets
and
are for sale for that, and we'll be there.
Yeah, and just trying to get the word out to the environmental community. If they knew more, they'd really be on board. And then of course the Northwest Veg Fest. We're going to have a table there, and if you want to help, if you want to volunteer, we can talk to you about working a shift. And once you learn the basics, it's pretty much everything that we said today, and there's a lot of, so if you want to sign up for a shift there. And then really exciting, the Animal Rights March has been postponed to October, so we're going to have ours October 12th. Our first one was last year, and Marley Delgado pretty much headed that up, and there was like 600 or 700 people, and it was unbelievable. So we're really working hard to get the word out about the Animal Rights March this year, and Compassionate PDX, we're going to do our monthly forum that night after the march, so it's going to be really great. And Jenny,
that got bumped to Friday.
Oh, our Friday night is our monthly PDX. Thank you. Oh, okay. No Vertical Diner.
Vertical Diner is Saturday night after the march. It's an after party now.
I love that. I was thinking, why wasn't it like that? Okay, so I got my way without even voicing it. Okay, that's really exciting. So Jenny McQueen, she's coming in. She's a really, really amazing anti-fur activist as well as animal rights in a lot of ways. But she's the head of the Toronto Fur Free Toronto, and she's coming in, and we're so thrilled. It's just, we're really lucky to have her. We're going to have a lot of events around that too, a lot of activism around that. And then way ahead, we're going to have Cassie King come for our November forum. These are tentative dates, and if all goes, well, it could be a celebration of the ban. And if not, it will be a loud, let's do this. You better do this or else. And then I'm going to have Amber talk about the last piece. You can
Which last piece?
just ways people can get involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, aside from all the events coming up, this has just been a massive grassroots mobilization. You got the sense from Dani's presentation, but we are fighting
a very powerful industry. They're not as powerful as they once were, but we know that they've spent, as of a couple months ago, they'd spent $750,000 just fighting the ban in New York City. By now it's got to have topped $1 million. They were paying college students $175 a pop to come testify against the statewide ban in California. They lost that. As far as we know, they haven't caught wind of what we're doing here, but we do have the Fur Industries Lobby organization right in our backyards here in Medford. So once they catch wind, that's going to be very interesting, and we are really going to need all hands on deck here to get this passed. There's been a little bit of talk about the street team, so I'll take that opportunity to just pass this around. If anyone has already signed the petition, that's great. If you're a Portland resident, this email list, anyone can sign up, even if you're not a resident of Portland. And if you're interested in being on the street team, just check that box down there. Catalina will get you set up with all the information you need, get you a clipboard if you want to go out collecting signatures. And we really just need you on hand for when we say go. Like right now, and for the past 9 months, it's all just been us working behind the scenes, and every once in a while we're able to do a public event and kind of give people an update. But as soon as this gets past this little bump we're in with the legislative analysis and all that stuff going on behind the scenes with City Hall, we are going to need people to show up en masse at City Hall when we get a hearing date. And that might be 2 weeks ahead of time, it might be a month or more ahead of time.
To what extent are we obligating ourselves to do whatever is necessary? Like I live and work north of Vancouver. I can't just come at a moment's notice. I cannot come at a moment's notice, and I don't. I can't.
It's not going to be a moment's notice.
Yeah,
but it'll probably be a couple of weeks, or yeah.
I'm probably
there's
working.
events.
I probably can't come to the march.
It's coming for what you can. Yeah.
Okay. So if it's, I can just say,
yeah,
do whatever I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can do that.
Are you notifying through the emails?
We have an email list, yep. We have our Facebook page, which also would be really helpful if everyone follows our Facebook page. But it does help more eyeballs see it, just with the algorithms with Facebook. The more people that comment and like our posts, you'll also see fun updates from us. We post photos and calls to action things, but the email list is the thing to get on if you are interested in getting involved. So a little bit of the process, I think, on where we go from here. There are a ton of events coming up right now, but what I was talking about a couple minutes ago with when we're going to need all hands on deck is the way that City Hall works is that when they have a piece of legislation or anything that they're considering, they are going to put it on the schedule for a hearing. City Hall meets every Wednesday morning from 9:30 to 12:30, and it'll be on the agenda. At that point, we're going to try to get everyone who possibly can take a half day off from work or take an early lunch or whatever you need to do to pack the courtroom. Pack the City Hall chambers. I'm used to packing courtrooms, sorry. So we'll need people to attend in person if they absolutely can. That would be very, very helpful. Again, we don't know what the fur industry is going to do. They might start paying off people to come speak in opposition to it. And we need to be prepared for that, even though we haven't really been seeing that opposition quite yet, thankfully. Right after that hearing happens, they have a week-long public comment period. So anyone who couldn't physically attend is able to submit a written testimony. So again, that's going to be all hands on deck. You and your friend and your neighbor can all submit a comment to City Hall. And then the following Wednesday, 1 week exactly, is when they vote. So once this gets moving, once we just get that hearing date, it's going to happen really quickly, and then fur will be banned in Portland.
If we rally.
If we
really
rally.
need the masses. Quick question. they just want to know, the city officials want to know their constituents, what their constituents think. So it's just really Portland residents, or does it help to have other warm bodies in the hearing room?
I think people, it's definitely more helpful if you can get up there and say, I'm a Portland resident. But yeah, I mean, people who don't live in city limits can't, I think, still go speak. You can say, I work in Portland. You know, you are somebody who works, lives, or plays in Portland. Then yeah, you'd be allowed to speak. I would just don't misrepresent yourself that you live in Portland if you don't.
And we're going to have T-shirts. We've already, you know, oh, it's really
And
exciting.
we have buttons up there as well, if anybody wants a button right now.
Yeah.
So, did I cover everything, Dani? What else?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Veg Fest.
Veg Fest.
Yes.
What about it? Sure.
Then we got a table.
Oh, we have a table at Veg Fest. Yeah.
So that'll be one thing on, like, if you clicked, you wanted to join the street team, you can get in.
If you wanted to work a shift at the Veg Fest, we'll get you up to speed.
Any other questions that me or Dani or Matthew or Priya or Catalina can answer?
Yeah.
If you definitely want to, if you're interested in gathering signatures, come to me and I can give you some sheets.
And here's also the petition, if you haven't signed it. If you're a Portland resident only, and it doesn't include Milwaukee. And please print clearly, otherwise we can't count it.
It's weird because sometimes the post office says Portland, Oregon,
Oh.
and it won't let me put Milwaukee. And
Right.
So it's so sketchy.
Amber, do you know anything about the details on that?
I mean, if your address says Portland, then
then you can
Yeah,
sign it.
go for it.
Sometimes not. Yeah.
What's your zip code?
97222.
Yeah, that's
So
ours
definitely.
too. No, you're
I
not
know.
Portland.
I know.
It's
Oh,
better,
snap.
better to be safe. But
Yeah,
if
you're Clackamas County. You're not.
I know.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they just
So-
won't do it.
Thank you all for, you know, being here and being a part of this. You're a part of history. So it's really exciting, and as you can tell from the film, it needs to go. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Oh yeah, real quick.
One thing is if I'm I'm currently studying, so if I have a Portland address but I'm not a Portland voter,
You don't
would I
have to be a voter, just
Vote
a resident.
just a resident.
Yeah.
So even if so
Sign that baby.
Okay, well I can do it.
Yeah, I'm learning here too. All right, well, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.